Once upon a time, in the lush lands of Aniocha, there was a king named Obi. He ruled over a prosperous kingdom, his reign marked by wisdom, justice, and prosperity. However, there was a secret that plagued the great king Obi, a secret he guarded with the utmost care, for it was a source of great shame. King Obi suffered from a rare affliction that caused him to lose control of his bladder. No matter how hard he tried, he could not hold his urine. This secret was known only to his closest confidants, who swore an oath of secrecy to protect their king's dignity. Despite his ailment, King Obi was determined to carry out his duties as ruler with grace and honor. His kingdom flourished under his rule, and his subjects held him in high esteem. But there was one area where his secret brought him great sorrow: his marriages. King Obi had taken several wives over the years, each more beautiful than the last. But as soon as they discover his affliction, they would leave him, unable to bear the embarrassment and shame that came with being married to a king who could not control his bladder. The first wife, Princess Nkechi, was a vision of beauty, with skin as smooth as the finest silk and eyes that sparkled like precious gems. She was King Obi's childhood sweetheart, and their wedding was a grand affair. But soon after their marriage, Princess Nkechi discovered the king's secret. Unable to bear the humiliation, she left the palace under the cover of night, leaving behind a heartbroken king. King Obi mourned the loss of Princess Nkechi, but knew he must move on for the sake of his kingdom. He took another wife, Queen Adaeze, a woman of great intelligence and wit. She was a skilled diplomat and helped the king navigate the complex politics of neighboring kingdoms. But when she discovered his secret, even her clever mind could not find a solution. With tears in her eyes, she bid farewell to the king, unable to stay. One by one, the king's wives left him, each departure a dagger to his heart. His advisors urged him to find a solution, but no remedy seemed to work. He tried potions, herbs, and prayers to the gods, but nothing could stop the relentless flow. As the years passed, King Obi became a solitary figure, his heart heavy with loneliness and longing. The people of the kingdom whispered behind his back, unaware of the pain he carried. Some mocked him, while others pitied him, but none could truly understand the burden he bore. Then one fateful day, a traveling merchant arrived at the palace gates. He was a man of mystery, with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. The merchant requested an audience with the king, claiming to have a solution to his problem. Intrigued, King Obi granted the merchant an audience. The merchant, whose name was Kwame, spoke of a rare herb that grew deep in the forests of the kingdom. He claimed that this herb had the power to cure any ailment, no matter how dire. Filled with hope, King Obi ordered his best men to accompany Kwame into the forest in search of the miraculous herb. Days turned into weeks as they ventured deeper into the wilderness, facing dangers at every turn. But finally, they found the herb, a small plant with delicate flowers. With great ceremony, Kwame prepared a portion from the herb and presented it to the king. With trembling hands, King Obi drank the portion, his heart pounding with hope and fear. And then a miracle happened. From that moment on, King Obi found that he could control his bladder. The relentless flow that had plagued him for so long had finally stopped. Overjoyed, he embraced Kwame, declaring him a hero of the kingdom. News of the king's miraculous cure spread like wildfire throughout the land. The people rejoiced, celebrating their beloved king's recovery. As the sun set on another glorious day in the kingdom of Anyocha, King Obi stood at the balcony of his palace, a conflicted expression on his face. Beside him, Princess Nkechi and Queen Adeze stood, their eyes filled with longing and regret. They had returned to the palace, hoping for a second chance at love with the king they had once abandoned. But King Obi's heart was no longer theirs to claim. He looked at them, his gaze filled with sadness and resolve. "I appreciate your return, Princess Nkechi and Queen Adeze," King Obi began, his voice firm yet tinged with sorrow. "But the love we once shared is no longer the same. When I needed you the most, you chose to leave. You did not stand by me in my darkest hour." Princess Nkechi and Queen Adeze lowered their heads, unable to meet the king's gaze. They knew they had made a grave mistake, one that could not be undone. "I have found a new wife," King Obi continued, his tone gentle but resolute. "A woman who stood by me when I was at my lowest. She accepted me with all my flaws and supported me through my struggles." At his words, a woman stepped forward from the shadow. She was a vision of grace and strength, with eyes that sparkled with kindness and a smile that warmed the heart. "This is Queen Zara," King Obi said, taking her hand in his. "She has brought light into my life when darkness threatened to consume me. With her, I have found happiness and a love that knows no bound." Princess Nkechi and Queen Adeze exchanged glances, realizing that they had lost the king's heart forever. With heavy hearts, they bowed before the king and his new queen, their eyes brimming with tears. "We understand, Your Majesty," Princess Nkechi spoke softly. "We are grateful for the time we shared with you, even though we failed to stand by you when you needed us the most. May you and Queen Zara find all the happiness in the world." With that, they turned and left the palace, their hearts heavy with regret. But King Obi knew that he had made the right choice. Queen Zara was his true partner, the one who had stood by him through thick and thin. However, unbeknownst to King Obi, darkness was brewing within the palace walls. Princess Nkechi, consumed by jealousy and bitterness, could not bear the sight of Queen Zara by the king's side. Her heart burned with desire to reclaim her position as queen, no matter the cost. Princess Nkechi, once the epitome of grace and beauty, had become twisted by her obsession. She began to plot in the shadows, weaving a web of deceit and treachery to eliminate Queen Zara and regain her lost throne. One night, Princess Nkechi bribed a palace servant to poison Queen Zara's food. The servant, enticed by the promise of riches and unaware of the gravity of the act, carried out the wicked deed. The following day, during a grand feast in honor of the kingdom's prosperity, Queen Zara's plate was served with the poisoned meal. Unaware of the danger that lurked within, she took a bite, her laughter and joy filling the air. But as the poison took effect, Queen Zara's smile faded, replaced by a look of shock and pain. She clutched her chest, gasping for breath, as the poison ravaged her body. King Obi, sitting beside her, watched in horror as his beloved queen fell to the ground, writhing in agony. Panic erupted in the banquet hall as guests realized what had happened. The palace physicians were summoned, but it was too late. Queen Zara's life slipped away, her eyes closing for the final time. A wail of grief echoed through the palace as King Obi knelt beside his fallen queen, his heart shattered into a million pieces. He cradled her lifeless body in his arms, tears streaming down his face. Princess Nkechi, watching from the shadows, felt a pang of guilt and remorse wash over her. She had thought only of reclaiming her position as queen, blinded by her jealousy and her ambition. Now, faced with the consequences of her actions, she realized the depth of her folly. King Obi's grief turned to fury as he discovered the truth behind Queen Zara's death. He summoned Princess Nkechi before him, his eyes blazing with rage. Princess Nkechi, your greed and jealousy have cost the life of an innocent and pure soul. You have betrayed me, your kingdom, and everything we stand for. With a heavy heart, King Obi ordered the imprisonment of Princess Nkechi and the palace servant. After months of imprisonment, they were released and banished from the kingdom, never to return. The kingdom mourned the loss of Queen Zara, their hearts heavy with grief. King Obi withdrew from the world, consumed by sorrow and regret. The once prosperous kingdom fell into a state of mourning, its joy and light extinguished. In the darkness of his grief, King Obi vowed to never again let jealousy and ambition blind him. He dedicated the rest of his days to honoring the memory of Queen Zara, ensuring that her legacy lived on in the hearts of his people. Thank you so much for joining me today and listening to another beautiful story. I will see you in my next story. Bye-bye.